Hey guys, so something a little bit different. Instead of looking at slides, let's have a look at this textbook when it comes to the HLSA, because we've got to upskill ourselves with some knowledge first before we even think about what we're going to do. So you would have noticed that on page 300, there's the HLSA section, and maybe you've gone through it already. And if you have, you would have read this introduction section here, which is really important. And you would have got the takeaways of 1,200 to 1,500 words, okay? Don't exceed it or else. That you need a line of inquiry. Now, you know inquiry questions before, all right? Unless you've been asleep for 17,000 years. So you come up with a line of inquiry, an original one, you choose it. Think of it kind of like a short extended essay. And if you're doing Lang & Lit as your EE, then you know what that process is about. So, and it's just a matter of going, well, if I'm doing Lang & Lit EE and I've done a literary text or texts, maybe for this one you're going to do non-literary, or there's no rule. It's up to you. Whatever you think you're most interested in and where your skill set lies, what type of text. You would have noticed that it made a point that we're going to be consulting secondary sources within this HL essay. And I just mentioned this before, literary or non-literary, okay? You're going to choose. Remember some rules that if it's literary, you choose. You do your literary text in one of these. You can't do it in all three, all right? So if you choose to do the HL essay on a particular literary text, can't be in your oral, can't be in your paper too. So you need to be careful about that text selection as we move forward. And if we're doing non-lit, remember that it's a series of non-lit texts, one studied in class. And it gives some examples of maybe it's like, an advertising campaign or a series of political cartoons. One of them just needed to be done in class, but it's part of a broader series. And then we move forward from there. Okay, there's that. You also would have picked up that this section here gives some examples of good inquiry questions, or line of inquiries as this textbook likes to refer to it. And then there's some rubbish ones. And then down here, there were some interesting summary points. We're talking about the word counts. Just a reminder that it's an argument, not a description. You're not summarizing a text, all right? And these are familiar things, exploring the author's purpose and also the reader response. And we're going to pick up now, one of the ways of approaching the essay is to look at it through the 7 concepts. I'm going to give you a snapshot into that. They're here. So your 7 concepts: transformation, representation, communication, creativity, identity, creativity twice, and culture. What's that about? It's a misprint. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's missed one. Representation, perspective. Perspective is missing. All right, so, well, that was good for me. So you can go about constructing your essay by thinking about these 7 concepts, and there's some other ways, but that's what we're going to focus on. Now, I don't know about you, but I prefer to go and look at sample responses, and there's a few scattered throughout this textbook, all right? But you look here, and it's got a line of inquiry, all right? And then, so now we're on page 305, and you see here that it actually says this raises the line of inquiry, and then it's got a thesis statement. You wouldn't notice that when you look at that thesis statement that the structure is something very familiar to us before, all right? And we would predict here, what do we got? Artistic style, A, narrative technique, B, symbolism, C. So that's your 3 body paragraphs. And I put any money on it that this is a 5-paragraph essay. Introduction, body 1, body 2, 3, 4, that's body paragraph 4, and then this leads on to the conclusion, all right? Also notice here that this is where we're putting the works cited. So that needs to be part of your HL essay, all right? So I wanted to point that out first, just so you can physically see what it looks like. And you can, if it's a visual text, I'm pointing and not pointing my camera, if it's a visual text, you can include those in there, all right? And then we have the mark scheme here, which you might be interested in. So I would be checking out that. And there's a second one there that got less marks, all right? just starting to get yourself a little bit familiar with things. Now, one of the 7 concepts was culture, all right? Culture, and we should find the word culture in the line of inquiry. There it is there. How does it promote intercultural understanding or divide cultures and people? All right, so that's how they've applied the concept of culture into that line of inquiry, which we see then physically appears in that. All right, let's have a look at some other ones that I just happened to quickly find. Now, I don't know if you've picked up on this, but in this textbook, the concepts are the green boxes. All right, so this one here is creativity. Text type is advertisements. And this question here is just getting us to think about how is creativity used to engage its audience with this topic. And there's the same thing about the environment, but then it's like, well, how is that being creative to engage? How is that being creative to engage? So look out for the green boxes as you're trying to get your head around which of the concepts really jump out at you, all right? And normally one will jump out or two more so than others. Next one, communication. All right. What's this one about? Street art is a form of communication like any other text. What is Banksy aiming to communicate? Now, I know we haven't done Banksy, but I'm just giving you examples of how you can link a concept to a different text type. All right. Remember, if you choose to do a non-literary text, at least one time we need to have looked at it in class. Done that one. What's next? Brexit. All right. So this one is perspective. All right, the topic is Brexit. If you don't know what Brexit is, read more of the news. How do these texts offer multiple perspectives on Brexit? All right, blah, 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 language, target audience, okay? Same topic, different perspectives, all right? Cool, that's quite interesting actually. All right, transformation. Now, we did this in class very recently. So there is the green box, there is the transformation question. And remember this poem, Introductory to Poetry, is like, hey teachers, you're butchering poetry. And there's a question about that. Transformation refers to how readers' outlook on the world changes as a result of what they have read. Does old Billy do this for you in here? All right, is he transformative? So there's an example of that concept being applied. What's this one? Representation. Okay, I stopped at this one. Text type of being advertisements and representation. Oh, so a question would be something like, how has the representation of women in advertisements changed over time? Or men, for example. That could be an example of how that plays out. Next one is identity. All right, let's see. We've got the green concept box here. It's about racism and identity. Here we go. How is language used to express identity and comment on the progress of race relations? So it's a bit of a crossover, that one there. All right. But again, coming back to the use of language. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the 7 concepts. All right. So get familiar with that chapter. Start thinking about these 7 concepts. Because today I want you to try to come up with, in your learner portfolio, come up with some of the text that we've explored. It doesn't mean you're going to do it as part of the HL essay, but start playing around with how can I match that text with the concept to come up with a line of inquiry. All right. Now there's slides and instructions to support that, but don't forget the old textbook is a pretty handy resource. Okay, so go to the slides and I'll set out some instructions for you.